Okay, welcome to the first group call for our Staying Sober group coaching weekly calls. We do one every week. This is kind of lined up nicely, but this is the first call in the first week of the 10th month of the year. And I'll just go through a quick little intro here. My name is Kevin Gillespie. I'm 36 years old. I live in the Midwest. And I'll be sober for 5 years next month. Actually, the 10th of November will be 5 years for me. Um, I put this together kind of to bring some of my experience to people that may be searching for something a little more out of their sobriety, or people that are looking to get sober. And in a lot of the things I've been involved with, I've been more about the background. But this time I've decided that I'm going to bring a little bit more of my face and my voice into the mix and see how I can help people. Kind of you know a one-on-one, a little more intimate, a little more personal, and and just see what happens. The last time I drank, it caused me to be hungover for 6 days straight. This was kind of the start of my rebirth and the beginning of my journey to learn that my limitations were completely self-imposed. I started drinking at the age of 12, and we used to sneak booze into the school dances, and everybody got caught, and it didn't really cause any immediate problems, but it caused long-term issues. We would sneak beers on our morning walks to grade school, which was looking back on it, it's kind of funny thinking about children drinking beers in the morning, but uh, you know, it was also kind of sad and not really the right way to go about living life as a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old. Um, I found myself over the years never really going above the average or the norm, and just kind of being stuck because I was at the end of the night I was always drunk, or I was feeling like shit because I did whatever I did during the day, and then I would just get hammered at night. Um, Total bar star, life of the party. We were at the bars through you know through the age of 20. I think it was 23 or 24 for me. We were at the bars till 4 o'clock in the morning. Um, and it made the next day pretty difficult, but I always got through it. Over time, I started getting blacked out just completely on purpose. I would drive my car into stuff, light poles, other cars. I never hurt anybody. I'm thankful for that. But I also never got in any problems. I never got there were no repercussions for my actions. I had no lessons to learn, because it never affected me in any permanent way. Anytime I got pulled over when I was drunk, I got out of it. Anytime I drove into something that didn't cause any bodily injury, I could fix it with money. I drank like that and spent pretty much every single day teetering on the edge of losing everything, because getting fucked up was way more important than anything. I prioritized drinking above myself, my family. I prioritized drug use over mental clarity. Any of my problems that I had, I would just go down the rabbit hole of getting hammered. If I had 12 beers in the fridge, I was having 12 beers that night. If I had a bottle of whiskey, I was having a bottle of whiskey that night. If I had a bag of Coke was not to be shared. It was to be shoved up my nose and my nose only. Um, I knew kind of in the back of my mind that, my family was only getting a small percentage of me, solely because I was just getting wasted. And when you're hungover, you're not giving anybody 100%. You're not giving yourself 100%. I would go to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was putting in just enough effort to get through the workout. I started slowing down at one point in time, but just kept getting fucked up, and nothing mattered anyway. Like I said, I never missed hitting the gym every morning, never missed work, never missed anything family related unless I was working. Um, but when everybody was asleep, I would just get completely trashed, and that was the focus. If I can get through the day and just get trashed, that was perfectly fine by me. Um, almost 5 years ago, coming up next month, I gave up drugs and alcohol. And since I did that, I've made more money, strengthened myself, and built what I would consider a wonderful life for myself and for my family. And I don't think that if I had never quit, I would likely still be a lesser version of myself. And um, thankfully, I'll never have to figure out if I made the right decision or what the other path would look like because I got out when I got out. But I know there's people struggling with that option. Well, A or B, and I'm terrible at A or B choices. I've got a couple of friends and business partners that we laugh because when you choose path A, path B was better. If you choose path B, path A was better. But the only way to find out is just kind of jump in. And I truly believe that choosing the path that I went down was the much more appropriate path and the better path for me and my life. Um, Bad shit is gonna happen regardless of sobriety, but I've noticed that when as I've been sober, I actually get to feel emotion and deal with the facts of the situation versus either drinking or doing drugs to numb the consequences, and to kind of push aside what the matter truly is. And right after I'd gotten sober, our family dog had died. We'd had her for 11 years, and I had her all through the time that I was getting fucked up, and she was my best friend. And that was like the first true test. It was around Christmas time, and it was the first true test of if I could navigate a situation while sober without caving in and crashing down and giving myself the option to get out. I didn't give myself the option to drink or do drugs to handle the situation. I just handled the situation 100% sober. Obviously, I had my family, my wife and my son to support me. Um, but I didn't do any kind of outward search for help. I didn't do any um I didn't do anything introspective either. I just kind of just kept going and dealt with it like maybe a robot would. It was a thing that happened, and I kept going. I don't remember crying. I don't remember any deep sadness for it. I just existed through it, and whether I was fucked up or whether I was sober, it happened, and there was nothing I could do about it, and I can only control what I can control. Um, I'm thankful that I'm able to feel emotion now. I I cry from time to time. I talk about what's really going on instead of just pushing everything down and getting fucked up to remove myself from the situation. But um, I've when I was getting fucked up, I recall like not having any emotion toward anything. You could walk up to me and tell me that my mother died, and I just okay, let's get hammered. In fact, I remember when my grandpa died. I think this was probably 2013, 2014. Um, we we had the wake for him, and me and a group of my friends sat in my truck and drank an entire bottle of Jim Beam. I mean, there was no chaser. We just passed around a bottle of Jim Beam, and that's how I dealt with that. Um, I remember just being around all of the family. Everybody was everybody was sobbing and feeling terrible, and I was just a fucking slob, um, dealing with it in the way that I dealt with it, which was by getting wasted. Um, when shit sucks now, the only thing to do is attack it head on and not hide from it. You can't hide from what's happening. You can only embrace it and and attack it because it's like I said, it's going, whatever happened happened. There's nothing you can do about it. You can only You can only deal with it head on. And if you're if you're fucked up dealing with it, you're either going to make a bad decision toward it or about it, or you're going to make no decision, and you're just going to get wasted and have to deal with it 5 or 10 or 20 years later whenever it all catches up to you. Again, you're going to just be dealing with it anyway, so you might as well deal with it like a human being and deal with it like an adult, and 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 not just get fucked up to hide that emotion and hide what's truly going on. um my encouragement to you is to fight through whatever shackles you've attached to yourself, because in most cases, drugs and alcohol didn't find you. I remember being in the DARE program at my grade school and being warned about people trying to get you high and trying to get you drunk, and that shit never happened, ever. Nobody was ever like, you should do these drugs, you should drink this liquor. It just kind of, we were just kind of around it, and I had to make the choice to drink, and I had to make the choice to do a line of coke, and I had to make the choice to smoke a bunch of weed or take the pills or do all the terrible things that I was doing. um Whatever your addiction is, the only resolution is personal resolve. You have to make a resolution to yourself to quit. And you may not be ready to quit, you may not be ready to stop, you may not be uh, prepared for it. But as with most things, or even most things in life, there's never going to be a perfect time to quit. There's never going to be a perfect time to get a new job. There's never going to be a perfect time to have a kid. A lot of times those things are just thrown at you, and if you're not prepared for it, you're likely to fail. So if you're thinking about getting sober, or you're gonna get sober for somebody else, you think that's gonna make you make somebody else happy, you need to make it a clear point and clear understanding with yourself that you're not going to get sober for anybody else. You have to get sober for you. um I never convinced myself, and I never had anybody else convince me to get sober. Whenever it was time to do it, I just did it. In 2010, I quit smoking cigarettes, and I quit doing coke full time. From 2007 to 2009, I spent probably 50 grand or so on cocaine. And then January 1st, 2011, is when I quit cold turkey, quit cigarettes, quit cocaine at the same time. And that made me really ramp up my drinking and my weed smoking. I had what I had dubbed the bedside bong. It was a little bong, and I would just keep it next to my bed, and I would wake up at whatever time and just get as stoned as possible, because there was no reason to get out of bed and face the day sober at that time. um bad shit happened, and I faced it fucked up, and now I have the opportunity to face every bad thing and bad decision that I may have made, sober or not. I have to face it and face the consequences, without a crutch. And I had attached myself to booze, I had attached myself to drugs, I had attached myself to pills, I had attached myself to, I mean, every bad decision. I mean, when you've got a partner that's an addict, uh, it doesn't it doesn't make quitting any easier. Um, it makes it increasingly more difficult, because if one of you slips up, both of you are going to slip up. Um, and I really rely on my partner being as sober as she is. She's not 100% sober, but she's never had an addiction. She'll drink 1 or 2 drinks a year. Um, no one, and it's never been a problem for her. I wish I had that. I wish I had that off button. But when I would go out, it was how fucked up can Kevin get? How wasted can he be? I would fall asleep waiting for everybody to get out of the bar, sitting in the car. Thankfully, I wasn't driving on most of those nights, but I'd be sitting in the car at 10 p.m. while everybody was partying, and I'd be the first one wasted and the first one hiding out in the car. Um, but it took me realizing that I needed to get sober. It took I my wife never said to me, "Hey, you need to quit." My son never, he was 2 at the time. He never had noticed that I was a drunk or a coke addict or a pothead or a pillhead or whatever. He never noticed any of that. And I'm thankful that didn't have to experience that. But I made the decision for myself. Um, if you've got, if your solution or if you find solace in a higher power, whatever that higher power may be, then you can attach that solace to yourself. You're the higher power. And to me, the higher power is just a better version or a more cognizant version of yourself. It's like yourself from the future. So if you're higher power, and I don't believe that this is the answer 100% of the time, but for some people, having faith in a being or an entity that isn't you is great, but that's just a sidecar to you. You're driving the car. You're captain of the ship. The only person that can say yes or no to drinking or doing drugs is you. Um, and that's the reality of the situation. There's nobody that can right your ship. There's no one that can solve your problems. The problem, if you look at yourself in the mirror, the problem is you. If you're not confronting the problem, if you're not confronting the the big the elephant in the room, then you're just going to be wallowing and dealing with with the problems with your crutch, with your drug of choice, with alcohol, with something that you don't have any control over and that ultimately ends up controlling you. um One of the big reasons that I started this group and this coaching style and this um this Friday night meetup at 10 p.m. is because 10 p.m. is typically the time when on a Friday night people are out getting wasted and trying to, you know, they've worked for the weekend. They deserve this. They deserve this time to get absolutely trashed. But in reality, you still have to wake up tomorrow. It's fucking Saturday. It's not another day that's going to get lost in the fold where you waste it laying around playing video games or trying to recover from being wasted. um it's another day that you can use to be progressive and move forward and keep yourself in check, because there may not be anybody depending on you. If you have a family, somebody else is depending on you. But if you don't have any family, if you're a single person, you're doing a disservice to yourself. um and the power of this group is something that I actually conceptualized years ago, but I didn't have any experience and I didn't have any ability to do it. I thought that what I was going through was a singular event. I thought that anywhere I looked to get help was going to be just another dead end or a bumpy road or an uphill battle, whatever cliche you want to think about. I thought that, you know, I thought that my ego would take a hit from asking for help. Um, and I wished at the time that I initially got sober and all these subsequent years of sobriety, I wish that there was like a sounding board or a group of individuals that would support me that didn't involve AA. I actually went to a couple of AA meetings. And the first one I went to was in the basement of a church, and I had arrived at the time that was specified on the listing. They said get there at, I think it was 9 o'clock or 8:30 or something like that. I showed up, and it was dark and it was difficult to find. And this is not a slight or bash on AA. I think it's however many people it's helped. I'm 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 proud of the fact that there is a way for people to get help. Um, but when I got there, I was the last person, by far the last person to arrive. I was late. because the event and the, you know, the posting for it had said be there at X time, whatever it was, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And by the time I had gotten there, 8:30, 9 o'clock, everybody was wrapping up and finishing. The room was, you know, packed. There was probably 20 or 30 people there. It was a small room, like I said, a church basement, and finding the door to get in was damn near impossible. But I found it, and it was just, it was just as uncomfortable to get in there as it was to introduce myself. You know, hi, my name is Kevin. And I'm an addict, and I had to raise my hand, and I had to kind of insert myself into the conversation because they'd already been there for hours. And it was just it was super uncomfortable for me. When everybody left and we walked outside to this dark area around this dark church late at night, I was approached by a gentleman that was pitching me on the idea that I had to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And I thought, you know, I definitely have a problem with alcohol. I definitely have a problem with drugs. I have no self-control when it comes to these things. I wish I had control, but for me personally, 90 meetings in 90 days just um, wasn't an experience that I wanted to go through. I had already done enough damage to myself. I'm I'm positive that that I have respiratory issues from all the cocaine and all the alcohol. Um, and I just wasn't really willing to submit to any more punishment. And I thought 90 meetings in 90 days, that's a fucking lot of meetings. And there's people that need that. It's like going to the bar. It turns into turns into a meeting place where you're hanging out with other fucked up people that don't get fucked up anymore. So everyone's kind of commiserating, and everyone's kind of uh, pushing you to follow a certain regimented path that, in my opinion, doesn't work for everybody. And again, this is not a problem with AA. This is my own personal experience, and anybody can have a similar experience, but it's all going to be different. Um, and the truth about the path of sobriety and the path through sobriety is that we're in a new age where technology can connect hundreds of people in one place, where these people can interact and be together going through different struggles that all relate to the same thing. And that thing is addiction. Um, Over the years, I've heard people say, "Oh, well, you just have an addictive personality." No, I don't have a fucking addictive personality. I'm addicted to drugs and alcohol. I'm not out addicted to writing novels. I'm not out addicted to running marathons. I'm addicted to mind controlling substances that numb and distill who I am as a person, and have the power and capability to completely destroy my life. But I'm too weak. I'm too egotistical, and I'm too stupid to realize that. And the drink and the drug are the two things that I know are a constant in my life, and I can always rely on. I know that if I drink enough beer, or if I smoke enough weed, or if I snort enough cocaine, or if I take enough pills, that shit's gonna work. Um, but you don't know you write a novel and it's going to be successful, or if you run a marathon, if you're going to complete it in a time that's going to qualify you to actually win your medal or your trophy from it. Um, I'm the only thing that I think I'm the best at, and I'm this the only thing I pat myself on the back for is being an incredible drummer. I've been doing that my whole life, and if anybody asks me about it, I'll talk about that. Um, but I know for a fact, without even thinking about it, without even having to work hard at it, I'm automatically good at getting fucked up. And I had a really good conversation with my son 2 days ago. We have a park and kind of a path behind our house, and he was having a really tough day. So we took the dog for a walk and had a little conversation about what he wanted to do. We got him started with homeschooling. He's really loving that, but we'd all been kind of um, discussing and kind of trying to figure out what our next steps were going to be, because he was fighting it every day, and he wants to get into soccer or not soccer, I'm sorry, karate, and he wants to get into music, and he wants to get into he's in swimming right now, and he's in gymnastics right now, and all these things are things that occupy his time. And he was we had talked about how when he played soccer, he wasn't good at it. And it got me thinking. I was like, well, you know what, dude, the biggest thing is that when you start something, you're going to suck at it. It's automatic. Unless you are a world-class athlete right off the bat without having to try, then everything you do in life, you're going to have to work at. And that's okay. That's part of life. Life is not, is not meant to be a cakewalk. It's not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be something that is that doesn't have any reward. And there's no reward without a little bit of hard work, or a lot of bit of hard work. You can focus on something, and I've got thousands of hours into playing guitar, and I'm a fucking terrible guitar player. I have all these guitars and I play them, but I'm just not any good at it. But I have thousands. I've been playing guitar for 30 years and I'm just not good at it. But I still love to do it. Um, but the moral of the story, or the outcome that I had intended for him to get out of that, was that, you know, you're not automatically going to be good at receiving change. And that was the part of the homeschooling that he was having trouble dealing with. He wasn't sure if it was for him. He wasn't sure if the learning style was what he wanted, and it caused a little bit of a rift for a couple hours throughout the day, but we got through it, and life is good. But the biggest thing I wanted him to take away from it, and from him to learn from that, was that when you're starting something new, you're gonna suck at it, and that's okay. We all suck at stuff, and we all have to get better at it, and it all takes time and it takes practice. Um, and the same thing applies to getting sober. We're all so used to using getting wasted as an excuse because we're fucking good at it. If you go to the bar, you're not going to have a hard time being good at being fucked up by the end of the night, because by the end of the night you've already had your 10 or 12 drinks, or your 2 drinks, whatever you are using to get out of living life to your fullest potential. You're automatically good at that because you've been doing it for so long. So the hard part is the change. Sobriety is the introduction of something new to your life, and it's an uncovering of emotion that you know you have, but you're unwilling to admit that you have. For my whole life, well, from the age of 12 on, I didn't cry. I would just get angry, and then in order to solve my anger problem, I would get wasted. And when I introduced sobriety, it forced me to change. It forced me to recognize that I have emotions, and recognize that other people have emotions. And although I do still say whatever I want to whomever I want, um, the goal isn't it's to be myself. But I don't need any type of social lubricant to be myself. I just am myself. And it's taken a long time and a lot of struggle, but I've been me now for the last 4 years, and and uh and 300 and 335 days. In another 30 days here, I'll be able to say 5 years. But there, it was a change, and it sucked and it was hard, but it was way suckier and way harder when I was getting fucked up. One of my favorite tools that I've used over the last 5 years was a little app called Nomo, Nomo. Basically, you input your sobriety date, and you can check in, and you can, look at how much money you saved, and you can look at all the time you've saved. Because I know I was spending 2 to 5 hours per night getting hammered, or getting so high that I didn't know who I was or where I was. Um, and that's part of the group, or for me, that's part of the group, is I use that. And I really truly wished I had found a group 5 years ago, but I'm ultimately very happy that 5 years into my journey, I was able to start something like this so that people that are either just starting their journey or are in the middle of their journey or 30 years in their journey can have somewhere to meet on a Friday night and hang out and kind of go through the struggles. I mean, every day there's something new that pops up that is either terrible or amazing. But I know that I'm going to be able to feel terrible and deal with it, or feel amazing and be proud of it, because I have sobriety in my toolbox and in my repertoire of or repertoire, whatever, however that word said. All these, I have tools in my toolbox, but the main tool is sobriety. Um, so you're not alone. We're all together in this. Doesn't matter what your addiction is, doesn't matter what your drug of choice is, doesn't matter what problem you have. There's somebody somewhere in the world that's going through the same thing or something similar. Um, and that's the point of all this, is so that we can all get together, talk all day, and keep each other accountable for what's going on, and be open and honest with each other um, about our recovery, because part of sobriety is recovery. And they always say that you're always in recovery, you're never out of recovery, you're never recovered. And I look at it a little bit differently. um I don't necessarily fight any temptation on a day-to-day basis. i don't have any I don't have any reason to fall back into my old ways. I was just talking to my wife today about how, um if somebody were to offer me cocaine right now, I would probably do it. And that's not because there was something bad going on. It's just something that I had a terrible addiction to. But ultimately, I've controlled myself, and I really truly don't think that I would just do it if somebody handed me a bag of coke. I wouldn't I wouldn't do that, because I know I'd lose everything for it. With every opportunity, whether it's a positive or negative opportunity, there's going to be consequences, or there's going to be a successful outcome, right? So, you know, if somebody's going to offer you a drink or a drug, it's up to you to say no. If you have the opportunity to go get the drink or the drug, you should be able to say no. You don't have to be powerless over something that has no bearing, or should have no bearing on the outcome of your life. Um, so the goal of this group is to connect everybody together and kind of coach you through what you can do, and just have somebody to talk to, and have a place to meet, and a place to congregate, to go over what sucks, what's working, what's not working, and how we can all work together. Um, so yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining up. Thanks for posting. Thanks for engaging. Thanks for commenting. And I love hearing stories of um, a personal struggle that has a good outcome, because not every personal struggle has a good outcome. But if you're able to overcome something as terrifying as addiction, and you have some semblance of control in your life, that's fucking amazing. So thanks for showing up. And the recording will be available here shortly. And I encourage everybody to show up every week. I encourage everybody to post, comment, share, and make suggestions about how this can be a place where we can all get together and be together and kind of go through this together, because you're not alone.